All right, now we're going to do the same problem. This again is number 17 on page 247 of your pre-calc book, and here we go. Different way to do this. We have denominators that are all different, and that's a big problem, and they all have variables on the bottom too. So what I'm going to do is start this out just like the other one. I'm going to take these bottoms and factor out a number out of each one of the bottoms. So it's going to look something like this, 7x over. Now I'm going to pull a 3 out of that. So it's going to be x plus 1. Now, when I showed this to the other class, they were like, whoa, wait a minute. What was that again? I'm not sure. 3x plus 3, I'll show you in slow motion here. If that's equal to 3 times x plus 1. Because if I distribute this, I am going to get 3x plus 3, which is that. So this is just another way to abracadabra this thing into something better. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do to each of these now. So it's going to be minus 5 over, and then 4 times what? Well, that would be x minus 1 this time. X minus 1 equals 3x over, and I'm going to pull a 2 out of each of these because they both have 2's. So what's going to go in there? You tell me this time. X plus 1. Good. All right. Now, let's look at some similarities. That is similar to that. Not the same, though, but similar. What's inside that parenthesis is that is different. Okay? So I'm going to put the two red circles together and keep this by itself. So I'm going to take this and put this over here, and then I'm going to take that. Notice I circled that minus sign there and put it over here. So I'm going to do a switcheroo here. Let's do it in a different color. So this is going to stay the same. So I'm going to recopy that very carefully. You guys have got to be super careful on this. One little mistake and you're sunk. This would be, since it's positive over here, it's going to be minus 3x over 2 times x plus 1. The only thing I'm changing is this sign right there. That's the only thing I'm changing. Equals, and then since this is minus, it's going to go over here as a positive. So I'll just make it positive 5 over 4 times x minus 1. Okay, now I'm going to pause this and see if there are any questions. Be right back and go. All right, so in the other class, what I did, if you watch the other video, which I highly suggest you do, I multiplied all of this by 2. Actually, let me just write over top of this in like purple. And then I don't write this on your paper now. I'm going to erase it. But I multiplied this by 2 and this by 3. Now, why did I do that? Because I want to make this bottom 6's so that I have common denominators. You can't subtract fractions without common denominators. And I went through all those steps. There may be a little bit easier way to do this, though. So let me try to show you that. Because this is a 3, a 2, and a 4, I know that all three of those green circled numbers go into 12. They all go into 12, which means I can multiply everything by 12. All right, now watch what happens here. Okay. When you multiply this first, so I'm going to distribute. Okay. This 12's got to be distributed through here. This 12 and this 3 are going to cancel. And that's going to give me 1 here and 4 up here. Okay? Now, for the sake of not being sloppy, I'm going to get rid of that. But that's what happened. That's going to become a 4. And then 4 times 7x is 28x. And on the bottom, since these canceled, one more time I'll show you that. That was a 4. 4 times 7x is 28, and that 3 is now gone. The only thing left on the bottom, now I'll get rid of that, is x plus 1. X plus 1. All right, now let's do this again. Here's my minus sign. That's that minus sign right there. 12 times this. This 2 is going to cancel this 12, leaving me a 6. Okay, now I go ahead and leave that there because I don't have to mess with this 12 anymore. But on the top, I'm going to get 18x, and on the bottom, I'm going to have x plus 1. So now, gold money. We have our bottoms the same, which is good. We can now subtract those. But we got to do it to this side too. If we're going to multiply by 12, we've got to do everything by 12. So this 12 here and this 4 is going to cancel. So what's going to be on the top? You tell me. 15, because that's a 3. 3 times 5 is 15. And on the bottom, x minus 1. All right. Excellent. We're going to put this together. We can now just subtract those. 28x minus 18x is 10x over x plus 1. And that equals 15 over x minus 1. 15 over x minus 1. Now let me see if I can do this again. It worked last period. Cut that. Make a copy of it. Move it over here to finish my work. Good deal. It worked again. Okay. We now have a proportion, and this is going to happen in almost every problem at some point. You're going to have a proportion. We're going to cross multiply. Okay, here's my equal sign. I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to have 15 times x plus 1. That's going to be 15x plus 15. Let's clean that up a little bit. 15x plus 15 equals, and then 10x times x minus 1. Let's do that right here. 10x times x minus 1. Now I need to distribute that. So what is 10x times x? That is 10x squared. And then 10x times negative 1 would be minus 10x. All right, very nice. Now I'm eyeballing this, and I see my highest degree here is a 2, which means this is going to be quadratic. And I want to keep that red circle positive. I want to keep this positive here. I just think life's easier when the a of the quadratic equation is positive. So I'm going to leave that there and take these two things and dump them over on this side. Okay, so that's going to look like this. 0 equals 10x squared. And if I take this 15x and subtract it, what am I going to get? How many x's? Negative 25x, and then the plus 15 doesn't have any friends, so it'll just be, we'll subtract it, so it'll be minus 15, like that. Well, some would say, well, can't I just divide everything by 5 here, because these are all divisible by 5 to make these numbers smaller? And that is a legal move. So we'll divide everything by 5. Just about done with this problem. Remember, everything. When you multiply or divide, you have to do everything. This is 0. 0 divided by 5 is 0. This would be 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. And that's a quadratic equation. At that point, you could graph it and find the zeros. You could do the quadratic formula, or you could factor it, which I'm going to do. I'm going to factor this because it's good to review it. This time my leading coefficient is a 2, so it's going to be 2x and x. Again, if you want to do the other methods, that's fine. This would be minus 3 and plus 1, and that would equal 0. So that means both of these parentheses equal 0. So what would I put in here to make that equal to 0? Well, that would be a 3, so that's a solution. And what do I put in here to make that equal 0? Well, that would be minus 1/2. Minus 1/2. And if you're like, how did you do that? Well, it's just, you just set that parenthesis equal to 0 and solve it for x. So we would subtract 1. I'll just show you this real quick. 2x equals negative 1. And divide by 2. That's the beauty of these videos. If I'm going a little bit fast, you can back it up and start over. Or just back it up a little bit. But this becomes negative 1/2, and that cancels. So these are my two solutions right here. Negative 1/2 and 3. I do strongly suggest you kind of watch the other video and fast forward it to the part right here. I'll just circle it in red. This part right here in the other video, that would not be red. That part right there in the other video is done a different way. And I'd like you to see that too. And that's it. I'll talk to you later.